Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. We come to you on this Friday where you will have to survive without football for the weekend. So I don't know if you have any outside plans. If you do, they better include dressing very warmly, as most of the country is socked in. Whether you're in New York or in Florida, doesn't seem to matter. The temperatures are plummeting everywhere, and just have to get through winter. That's all there is to it. Uh, Big week coming up. Obviously, as Super Bowl talk will start to heat up. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. We'll also get some emails in that I have here, which I'll get to. First couple of messages. Get a $10 bonus bet from Bet Rivers to use on the big game. Enter the bonus code Francesa128. That's Francesa128 in the Bet Rivers app to claim your bonus bet. That code again is Francesa, Francesa 128. Offer expires after the big game on February 8th. Must be 21. Eligible players only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, also, sign up for the Mike Francesa newsletter for your chance to enter the February newsletter contest. Win a personalized message from me or a Francesa prize pack. If you haven't signed up, do it. It's free. Go to MikeFrancesAPodcast.com and you will get the free weekly newsletter. Now, big week coming up. You have the Olympics Friday night, if you care about such things, next Friday. Next Friday night, on the 6th, you have one of the real games of the year. And frankly, I wasn't expecting it 2 months ago or even 6 weeks ago to be this kind of matchup. And I think now with what's going on with St. John's and what's going on with UConn, and they're both going to come winning and storming into this game. I don't know if storming is the right word for UConn. They keep winning, but they haven't played. They haven't played great. I mean, they seem to have a very weird chemistry and not a great intensity. They're not beating people by a lot, but they're winning all the games. So, and the Big East this year, let's be honest, is 3 teams. UConn, which is ranked second in the country and has found a way to win all but one game all year. St. John's, which has rebounded, and Villanova, which should have beaten UConn in UConn, lost in overtime last week. If they had won that game, that would have locked in their NCAA tournament bid. They haven't locked it in yet, but they're going to get in. I don't know if anybody else. I think they're only going to get 3 teams. I don't think they're going to get anybody else into the NCAA tournament this year. Villanova will return. St. John's will be there. And obviously UConn. But St. John's and UConn play at the Garden next Friday night, and it is going to be a big, big night. St. John's is hot. They're back ranked. They've won 7 straight. UConn, obviously, they don't like each other. The coaches don't like each other. And I can tell you this, and I'll finish with this after I do the emails. But St. John's, I didn't think would be able to play with UConn. But they've made the adjustments, one huge one, and subtle ones, which I'll get to. They're not perfect by any stretch, and they're vulnerable at times. I mean, they should have lost the Seton Hall game. If Seton Hall hadn't missed a million free throws and gone ice cold from the floor, Seton Hall would have beaten them. They're vulnerable at times because they have some weaknesses, but they're playing to their inherent strengths. Mitchell has changed the whole team, and I think they can beat UConn. Matter of fact, I give them at least a 50-50 chance to beat UConn, and I wouldn't have done that a month ago. A couple things on the Super Bowl. Number one, you're going to hear a lot about the May injury. He has an injury to his right shoulder. Listen, that's not why he didn't throw the ball well in these games. He didn't throw the ball well in these games because he was under pressure. He got sacked 15 times in the 3 games. They played 3 good defenses. They played Houston, which is the best defense. They played in Denver, which had a terrific pass rush, and they played him in very tough circumstances and were very fortunate to win the game. He's been sacked 15 times. Now, New England did a great job in rebuilding this team this year and rebuilding this offensive line this year. It was at the bottom of the league last year. It was not nearly it was really in the top 10 this year. But in the playoffs, they have been sacked 15 times. He's gotten hit a lot. And Campbell has given up 11 pressures and 3 sacks in the postseason. So that has got to concern them dramatically as they get ready. Can their offensive line hold up against Seattle? Seattle had 47 sacks on the season. If you take out the games they played against the Rams, which they played 3, their numbers of points allowed is tremendous. They turn the ball over. They are very aggressive in their pass defense, and they got a ton of hurries. I think they were second in the league in hurries. They are a good defensive team, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on New England. And New England's offensive line holding up. And then, we heard about Sam's oblique, which obviously went away because he played so well against the Rams. So we didn't hear it anymore. But now we're hearing about the right shoulder injury to May, and you'll hear more about that as the week obviously unfolds. Seattle a 4.5 to 5. It goes back and forth. Numbers, I think 45.5 if you're interested in such things. So more on the Super Bowl as the week progresses, obviously. I mean, I don't like to overkill because, you get beat over the head with the Super Bowl stuff. There's no question. I'm very much into that St. John's UConn game next Friday at the Garden. College basketball is going to be a very interesting tournament this year because there are a lot of good teams. I mean, there are some teams coming on like crazy. Illinois is coming on. There's some great freshman players who have put up astronomical numbers. 3 guys put up 40 points as freshmen last week. That's amazing. And you have Illinois coming on. You have Duke coming on extraordinarily strong. And you have some very good teams. You really do. So it's going to be, I think, a very exciting tournament when it finally comes. We still have a bunch of winter before that, but I think looking forward, it's going to be very, very good. As I said, emails, we have some to get to, so it'll answer some of the questions and topics I wanted to get to anyway, so let's not be redundant. We'll do that, and we'll answer them there, and then we'll take it from there, and if there's anything left I got to get to, I will. Now, Sean, what is your take on Saleh and Daboll teaming up with Cam Ward in Tennessee? I didn't think Daboll would get a head coaching job. I obviously knew in this, when there's so many offensive coordinator jobs open, he would get one, and he deserves one. His work with young quarterbacks is well stated. I've made this very clear. Saleh has been vindicated by the Jets disaster since he left. And he's popular in the league, and he's popular with the media. And he went back to San Francisco, which is a cocoon where you get jobs, just like the Rams are. And because that's a very good coaching staff, very professional team. And he has been absolved, which got him another head coaching job. It's nonsense. He was a terrible head coach here, and now he's going to call the defensive signals, which he didn't call when he was here because he said he wanted to take care of the game. Well, he did a terrible job. He was abominable at taking care of the game. He was about as bad as anybody I've seen. He was not a good head coach, and I've said this. This is not a knock on Saleh. I have no, problem with Saleh. I'm looking at him as a head coach. I watched every game he coached here. He was a bad head coach. Yes, the Jets are inept, and they could screw up a one-car funeral. We've seen it a million times. But him being absolved is a joke. He was a bad head coach. I'll be surprised if he's a good one now. I think Daboll will help Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's going to be pretty good. I thought Cam Ward had a decent year because you know what? He stood in there and played the whole season until the last game when he got hurt. And he showed improvement, and he showed toughness, and I think he's going to be a pretty good player. I think it's quite ironic that those two wound up together. I don't like the organization they're in, and I'd be surprised if they're successful. I have to admit. Ryan, do you think if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl, he will be viewed as a franchise quarterback? No, I think he'll be viewed as a guy who won a Super Bowl. A franchise quarterback is somebody who is an automatic, is a given. Sam is not yet a given. Sam had to first prove he could play in this league and then prove he could win in this league. He's done that. He's proved he can lead. He proved he can play. He proved he belongs. And now he can prove that he can win on the highest of levels. There's no question in my mind or anybody's mind about him doing that because he did it to the Rams a couple of times in a row in great games, and the Rams were the toughest competition they're going to face this year. And they beat him 2 classic games in a row. And he put up big numbers matching Stafford every step of the way. The Rams killed themselves with their special teams errors. They didn't coach the game well, which was surprising considering their head coach is very good. But I think what this proves is that Sam's a winning quarterback who will never have a problem getting a job again. He'll make big money. He'll be successful. Whether he becomes a franchise quarterback, if you ask me who's a franchise quarterback, Allen, who did break his foot when we thought he did, number one. Number two, Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers in his prime. These guys are franchise quarterbacks. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, obviously immortal quarterbacks, but also franchise quarterbacks. Is somebody who wins a Super Bowl a franchise quarterback? No, there's been some mediocre quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls. As for Eli in the Hall of Fame, there's no mediocre quarterbacks who are 2-time Super Bowl MVPs and who were brilliant in the fourth quarter of both Super Bowls they played. Look at Eli's. Just sit down sometime and look at the play-by-play of what Eli did in both fourth quarters. And then go look and see what he did on the road in those playoff years. And you have no doubt that he's a Hall of Famer. But no, I don't think it makes Sam. It makes Sam a winner. That's what it makes him. Alec, now that the Yankees signed Bellinger, do you think they're in a position to trade Dominguez? I think they should. Listen, I think the hype on Dominguez has been utter nonsense. Here's a switch hitter who doesn't hit right-handed and a switch hitter who can't play defense. He's a DH. And all he's proved is he can play from the left side. That's it. He doesn't hit right-handed. He's never hit right-handed. I think Dominguez has proved that he's got a long way to go. Does he have ability? Yes. Does he have power? Yes. Is he this monster player? No, I don't think he is. I think the hype was way, way overdone, which is usually the case. So many times it is. Will, are the Dodgers eventually headed for utter disaster with all the deferred money that they owe, with a possible salary cap on the horizon? First of all, you have to show me that there's a salary cap on the horizon. I do not think the Players Association is going to be open to that. I think baseball will have to go through nuclear freeze before that happens. I think baseball would be out a year before they would ever agree. And I'm not even sure they would agree then. Now, remember, the players will agree to a floor, but they will not agree to a ceiling. And they have, again, marshaled their forces and created their war chest. They are prepared to stay out a very long time. They are prepared to shut the sport down. So they are the wrong union to mess with because they are very powerful and very, very strong internally. Are they as strong in their will as they were in the old days? They have to prove that. Remember, Marvin Miller was never going to give in to anything. Orza was a Marvin Miller guy, and Fear. They were never going to do anything because they could never, ever stand up to Miller if they did. So That was never gonna happen. Are they as strong now? It remains to be seen. Does a cap of some kind make sense? I can see where people think it will. I just don't think baseball it doesn't solve baseball's biggest problem, which is unlike some other sports, they have enormous disparity in revenues based on geography. And that's something that is very difficult to overcome without enormous revenue sharing. Douglas, well, I like the men additions. The goal is to win the World Series, yes, and they aren't anywhere near beating the Dodgers. Cohen has to be aware of this. No, I'm sure he is. Yes, one step at a time. They have some very talented young players. I think they want to look and see exactly where some of their young players are, and then fill in the spots. I like a lot of the moves. I like the infield a lot now, and I think they have gamers. I think Polanco will be a guy who gets big hits. I think that they have gamers and winners and guys who are gonna do really well. I was not upset about them losing Tucker. I don't think Roberts will hit. I think they still need another veteran bat, and I would not give up on Vientos. Now, I think Vientos has to DH, obviously. He doesn't have a position anymore. But I always thought he was a DH anyway. And I think he can be a very useful DH. Are they a championship team? No, they're not. They're not with it. No one's with the Dodgers right now. That doesn't mean the Dodgers are going to win. Hey, the Dodgers had to have everything break their way, including some amazing plays from role players down the stretch in that classic last 2 innings to win that World Series. Otherwise, they lose. So, yes, they'll get to the playoffs. Yes, they'll win 100 games. Do they automatically win the World Series? No. That's one thing baseball has going for it is that it's very difficult to and very random to win the World Series. So when we get to the Super Bowl now, Seattle is the more complete team. New England has looked vulnerable in the playoffs. I don't think they are of the same quality as Seattle. I think the offensive line, which has really done a terrific job all year, has been extremely vulnerable in the postseason. And that has led the quarterback to being banged up. I mean, listen, the quarterback, his legs won the game for him the other day. That and some bad mistakes by the Denver turnovers, Sean's bad decisions, and a couple of runs were the reason that New England won. I mean, let's be honest. A couple of other than a couple of runs, May didn't make any plays in the whole game. And if the quarterback shows better judgment, now he's a backup quarterback, but if he shows better judgment, Denver probably wins. But we're better off that New England's here with a quarterback, with a talented quarterback, than Denver is with a backup quarterback because that wouldn't have worked here. I've mentioned it's been a very interesting ride with St. John's from the preseason hype, which a lot of it came from St. John's and Patino. So don't think it didn't because it did. And he misread or was misled, one or the other. I got to think he misread because I don't think anybody's there who he doesn't want. He didn't have a point guard. And I wondered if he would do the thing that I thought had to happen with this team, and that is that they went to Mitchell becoming an enormous factor after the Providence loss. Mitchell is the key to this team. Now, yes, he's a point forward. Yes, he's an incredibly versatile player. He's playing major minutes now. He's playing both ends of the floor. He's lifted them dramatically. Now, he's not a guy that you can play at a point position down the stretch of the game because of the fact that, despite the fact he's a really good passer and he's really good in the open floor, He cannot make an outside shot. He does not shoot threes. He's not an outside shooter. He's a 56% foul shooter. So you can't have him with the ball in the last couple of minutes. But what this team has become, and give Pitino credit for this, because it's a huge subtlety with this team. Mitchell's become he's become the heart of the team. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Zuby, who has improved his passing about as much as any player I can remember year to year. And Zuby does a lot of good. He's a terrific a relentless offensive rebounder. He'll make his free throws at a decent level. Not great, but decent. And St. John's is a good foul shooting team because they got some guys who make all their free throws. He gets on the boards. He blocks shots. He's a beautiful passer. Turns the ball over too much. But now with him and Hopkins out of the doghouse, and with Mitchell, you have the three forwards who are the core of this team. They are a given every night. If they're not in foul trouble, they're playing 35 minutes against the good team, maybe even more. Okay? They are the foundation. What Pitino has realized is you use, and really he's got an 8-man team, you use Prey as your fourth forward, and he can make a three. He's active. He goes in there and he does things. He's a good 15-minute player. Then you have the four guards. You don't have a point guard. The best passes on this team are Mitchell and now Zuby. What they have to do, and this is part of their vulnerability, game in and game out, they're capable of beating anybody. They're capable of getting beat by a lot more teams than last year's team was. Last year's team, you were worried that they were going to run into a team that was going to neutralize them on the backboard, and they were not going to make outside shots. This team can make outside shots, but it does not do it consistently. Game in and game out, Pitino does not know which one of these guards is going to give you the big game or the bad game. And that especially starts with Jackson. Jackson is such an easy scorer that if he is on his game, then good things are going to happen. But he's not always on his game, and he can be very, very poor in other areas, especially on the other end of the floor. St. John's is very vulnerable to getting broken down by guards off the dribble. Very vulnerable to that. They can't handle a really good electric guard. They got to watch Ball. And now, Solo Ball has not shot the ball well this year. And Ball and Mullins and the Caravan 4, UConn are going to shoot a lot of threes. Ball will be the key to the game. If they can't let him get off because he could wreck them. But what Pitino has done is you have Mitchell now, who makes everything better. They're better on defense. They're longer. They block shots. Their defense is better. They're getting their hands on a lot of balls now. They're turning people over. They're moving the ball quickly in the open court. Their transition game has gotten much better. Hopkins is out of the doghouse now. He's not sulking. He's doing the things he needs to do. Play major minutes, get his 13, 14 points, get his 5, 6 rebounds. Zuby's going to get his 15 points and his, 7, 8 rebounds, 4 offensive, some nights better. He's going to block shots. Now, a couple of things. Zuby turns the ball over too much. 1. 2. They are indiscriminate in their fouling. They foul way too much. Way too much. And you don't know game to game. Jackson, Sellers, Sannon, Darling, who's going to make the play? You've seen Darling come in the game late and make some big plays like he did in the Xavier game. Sellers, see, if I see a game when Jackson and Sellers are both on from 3, good night to lights. There's not a team in the country going to beat them. I'm telling you, they will beat Arizona, they will beat Michigan, they will beat Houston, they will beat Purdue, they will beat Duke, they will beat any of those teams. If we can get a game where those 2 guys are actually on together, because it does not happen, they're gonna score 100 points if that's the case, because they both can go 5 of 6 from 3 and make all their foul shots. Jackson, some games he's gonna play 10 minutes because Pitino's gonna put him in the doghouse because he can't stand what he's doing defensively. Some games he's gonna play 30 minutes and be terrific offensively and do it so free and easy. He's a scorer. He's not a playmaker, he's a scorer. Sellers is a really good outside shooter. I thought Sandlin would be a better outside shooter with his reputation, but he's been more erratic. Sellers is a better outside shooter. Darling is so hot and cold, but when he's on, he's fearless, number 1. And with Darling, you could play him no minutes one game and then throw him into the heat of the next game, and it never affects him mentally. He hasn't been what they thought he would be. He's overmatched in some games. And Rick's that's where Rick's ability, and there's nobody better on the bench. That's where his ability has to come in. The big 3 are there. They're playing. Unless they're in foul trouble, they're there. They are the team now. That's the tripod that everything is built off. Mitchell, Hopkins, and Zuby. They're playing major minutes. There's no question. Mitchell's going to be the focal point of the team. Zuby's going to do what he does, and then Hopkins is going to do what he does. Get in the lane, take his little turnaround, go to the basket, get fouled, take a lot of shots, be that guy who can score in the paint, all that stuff. Mitchell won't attempt a 3. The other 2 will, and you wish they wouldn't most of the time. But the other guys can all make 3s. And any one of them can have a big night from 3. If we get a night when they're all on, well, like I said, nobody's beating them. They're erratic from 3. The other night they opened up against Bradley. They were against against Butler. They were 0 for 7 from 3. And then I think to close out the half, they made like 6 threes in a row. And the next thing you know, they're up 15. Next thing you know, they're up 22. But everything changed after the Providence game when Mitchell became the focal point of this team. And I'll tell you something, if he could shoot, he'd be a first-team All-America. He has got a terrific he plays bigger than he is. He's got very long arms. He blocks shots. He dunks. He drives easy. He runs the floor with abandon. He plays defense. I mean, he's a good-looking basketball player. He's just not a real good shooter, and he doesn't finish the game. I mean, he finishes with dunks, but he doesn't he's not a scorer. Scoring is not easy for him. He's got little Pippen-esque qualities where the scoring is gonna be hot and cold. Everything else is there. The scoring is gonna be hot and cold. Except Pippen made his free throws. And he could make long threes. Mitchell doesn't even try threes. But he's a point forward. That's what he is, and he does it really well, and he's a really good passer, as is Zuby. Their passing has gotten so much better because the bigs have passed so well. And now they're getting the ball to the right people in the right spot, which was not happening. The one thing that you worry about with them is the guards can look awful on offense, and they can look brutal on defense at times. The guards are not vintage Pitino defenders. And you don't know game to game, like, which one it's gonna be. One night it's Jackson, one night it's Darling, A lot of nights it's Sellers getting minutes, same thing with Sandlin. I mean, the bottom line is he mixes and matches. how they're gonna play, the way they're gonna play against UConn is different than how they're gonna play against Villanova in the backcourt. The way they're gonna play against Creighton is different than the way they're gonna play against another team. And when they get back into the tournament where they're playing different teams, right now all they're seeing is Big East teams, and the Big East is weak. None of those teams. I mean, St. John's could get picked off as they did by Providence. Somebody could pick them off one night, okay? Seton Hall almost beat them already. But the bottom line is it's UConn, and they play UConn next Friday night. Then they play late in the season, they play at UConn on the 25th of February. Then they play at Villanova on the 28th. Those are the games that are going to decide where they are going to be seated. Now, could they move up a rank or two if they win the Big East tournament? Yes, of course they could. But right now, if you're interested in such things, I'd say St. John's is right now sitting on the 4-5 line. They're either a 4 or a 5 right now. I think they could get to a 3 this year. They're not going to get above a 3 this year. They don't need to. They don't need to. They are now a team that can do damage. And it took Rick, I think, a while to feel comfortable with how to utilize this team. And clearly that was the case with Mitchell. And now it's not an easy team to coach. I think it's a difficult team and takes all of his talents to coach it game in and game out because you have to basically mix and match with the guards in terms of their inconsistencies, offense and defense, and how they match up against certain players. There's certain players that's going to fit the game better for somebody than somebody else. Plus, he's going to play hot hands. When Jackson's off in Never Neverland and he's making mistake after mistake, he's going to ride the bench. He's going to play 12 minutes. If you look at the minutes played on these guys, you can see great disparities. Games where Darling plays, 4 minutes and then plays 25 minutes. Games where, Jackson plays 11 minutes or 10 minutes and then plays 30 minutes or 28 minutes. Sellers plays because they needed scoring, and he's going to make free throws. And they need Sellers and Jackson with the ball down or Darling down the stretch because all three of them are going to make their free throws. You can't have Mitchell because he's just not going to make his free throws. But he has salvaged the season. And there was a point where I didn't know which way this was going to go. He seemed very frustrated. They seemed very frustrated. And they have bought in. He has said all year that this is a good group. Even though they have some weaknesses. Like I said, the guards are not great defenders. They are inconsistent in their entire game, despite having some ability. And we've seen guys show flashes. We've seen Jackson show flashes. We've seen Sellers show flashes. We've seen Darling show flashes. But the big three are the foundation, and they're going to be in there playing 35 minutes against any good team, maybe even more, 38 minutes. They're going to be in there barring foul trouble. They are going to be in there playing major minutes. Since the 7-0 run, Mitchell's averaging 11.5 points. And remember, he's not a scorer. 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Blocking shots, getting steals, playing good defense, running the floor, playing major minutes, and winning. He has become the fixture. He has become the foundation. 3 forwards who are the foundation, the triangle, and then we mix and match the 4 guards. And you've even seen games when someone else will come in who gets a hot hand for a couple of minutes, and he'll use them. But for the most part, it's these guys. And like I said, if you can get a game where one of them is red hot, where both of them are red hot, tonight the lights, they're going to be hard to beat. UConn's going to be a very interesting matchup. Very interesting matchup. Because they can match him inside. Like I said, so much is gonna depend on what kind of game. Does Solo Ball have one of those 2 for 10 3-point games, or is a game where he's getting to the foul line, he's getting down the lane, he's beating them off the dribble, and he's knocking down trays? Well, he could score 28 points against them, 25 points against them, and kill them. That's something they have to guard against. I worry more about him than I do Caravan. Caravan's gonna make a couple of shots, we know that. He's gonna make a couple plays, he's gonna make a couple of shots. He doesn't kill you. Ball can kill you. But I can't wait, because if you had asked me at Christmas, "Are they gonna beat UConn this year?" I would have said, "Absolutely not." I think UConn has come down. I think there's something missing with that team. I think they're vulnerable, and I think St. John's has risen to the point where I would not be surprised at all if they beat UConn next Friday night at the Garden, which what should be a sellout night and really a great scene with 2 teams coming in. And since Pitino's been there, that's been very intense. It reached that last year. Remember, they don't love each other. Danny's become so successful, and they're both very active coaches. They're both up and on the officials and on the players every minute. They're talking and yakking and up, and they don't really like each other, which makes it, for us, very interesting. Can't wait for the game. And now St. John's can win that game. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Looking forward to it. So we got a lot of stuff to do. Get ready for this very different weekend. If you want to take your wife to the movies, go see. I've seen a couple of movies recently, so if you go to the movies, or you can rent them at home. I mean, they're pretty much on there. I did not like the Springsteen movie. I thought it was very depressing. Song Sung Blue is really a well done movie. Very interesting movie. And Kate Hudson gives for her the role of a lifetime. She got nominated for the Academy Award. She won't win, but you know what? That she got nominated, she really did a great job in the movie. So did Hugh Jackman, but Kate Hudson did a great job. Marty Supreme, where Chalamet's, if you want to see the guy who's going to win the Academy Award, I think is going to win it. And the DiCaprio movie, which is a little odd, but that's not a kids movie, the DiCaprio movie. So it's not for the kids. But a little long, but a movie that is favored to win both for the director and for the best movie. And Sinners got more nominations than any movie in history. 16 Academy Award nominations. So this is a weekend you can dabble with that, obviously, on what is a very, very cold weekend. Hey, if you're saying, man, I can't wait I wish I could get out of this cold. Don't think about Florida. It's supposed to be 28 in Orlando on Sunday morning, 32 in Palm Beach. Florida hasn't been spared. We'll see you later.